into a engagement with him, he says, as they're both circling each other, and then it took off at such a high speed it was off the horizon in a second or so.
Yeah, but that didn't come out to the news media for almost a year and a half afterwards. But and then Bruce, after that happened, we had the Secretary of the Air Force, a couple months later, talking to the graduating cadets, telling them, our next war, don't worry, is not going to be a ground war. It's going to be in outer space. I got that kind of strange. And then followed a couple months later, our president talks about, jokingly at the first time, creating a space force. And then, a couple months later, people realized he was serious about it. And it just seems like something that is in, the midst of, of disclosure, or is it maybe something is going on that they can't keep hiding?
Well, December 2017 was when the New York Times broke the story publicly about the Navy from 2004 to 2011 or 12, having a program lasting 5 years that spent $22 million trying to learn about these strange things that were being reported by Navy pilots. The story of the New York Times in December 2017, put that open to the general public, and from then on it's been a question of, is this real disclosure, or are they just trying to candleize us or something like that?
I don't know.
Supposedly, Tom DeLonge's group to the Stars Academy is supposed to be coming up with more information from the Navy inside stuff in the next couple of weeks.
Well, we all need to keep our ears glued for it. Your gut feeling, do you think we're going to have disclosure where the government maybe comes out in the next year or two or whatever and says, yes, we're being visited by something we don't know from where?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if they do. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't. I've often felt that this whole situation is being driven by them, so to speak. And if there are enough sightings that 50% of the population or more are suddenly become witnesses, then the government will probably say, "Yep, we knew it all along," and try to figure out what to do about it as everybody panics.
Yeah.
You can ask what are you going to do if you head for the hills, but they can get you in the hills. Are you going to become more religious? Are you going to try to curry favor with the aliens in order to live through this big interface between a temporal interface between non-disclosure and disclosure? There's a barrier there, which is somewhat flexible, I guess. And there are all people who are like the flat earthers who will never believe that there are aliens flying around. And there will be other people who will accept it as some sort of a religious breakthrough. Each person sort of has to decide for himself what he's going to do. I just published a paper on my website. There's a paper. Oh, I ought to get my website out. brumac, BRUMAC .mysite, MYSITE.com. I don't know if you can repeat that later on your radio program or not, but in any case, there's an article on there called "What If They Are Real?" I also posted this article on Facebook, and if you go to my Facebook and start reading down through the timeline, you should find reference to that article. What if they are real? I wrote it originally way back in 1986, and I revised it in 2008 or something like that, and I've posted it for the third time on Facebook now, and it raises a lot of questions that you have to start answering if you accept the idea that these things are real.
Well, you know what? How can I say this? I do get people on that talk about the Earth as being flat, and they believe the Earth is flat. That, I guess that's their own opinion. I guess those same people, if we all of a sudden start seeing more UFOs or something strange happens, they can put tin foil over their head, and maybe the aliens won't see them. But I can't believe we're the only ones out here that on this rock it has life. And I do feel that we are being visited. I mean, things like cattle mutilations. I have seen so many pictures of them. And then I have somebody who used to be with the CIA till he retired, sent me over a year ago a whole bunch of people pictures, like taken in the Amazon in Brazil and some other places that were basically human mutilations. And, the same type of things with the cattle were removed. They were removed with these humans, with a laser precision. And I tell you, after I saw those pictures.
This is from where?
Well, Brazil, again, Amazon, and a few other locations where, they would find these people or what was left of them that were mutilated. Like,
That guy by the name of Bob Pratt, you ever hear him? A reporter for the National Enquirer. Bob Pratt. I guess he could speak Portuguese or something. He spent a lot of time down in Brazil and dug up a whole lot of stories about people who were tortured or whatever by aliens. They had a saying, "Please save us from the chupacabra."
Yeah, or something. And, I'm going to be honest with you. After I saw those pictures, I couldn't sleep for a couple nights because it really upset me. Now, before I let you go, I don't know if you know who Mary Joyce is. She runs a UFO reporting center out of Cashiers, North Carolina. It's called Sky Ship.
Mary Joyce?
Oh, yes.
I don't know her.
Okay, it's called UFOs over Cashiers.com. She was a reporter for some major, newspapers back years ago when there were newspapers. And she runs this website. It's almost as good as the UFO Reporting Center, but it goes into kind of a little bit of cryptics too. But she, has been on my show several times. And one thing she has said that she keeps talking about, there's supposed to be a base in North Carolina, which underground base, that the government has, but it's supposed to be actually aliens sharing technology with them.
This is Dulce?
Mary Joyce.
Dulce, New Mexico?
No, this is in
alien base. Where does she say this alien base is?
It's a military base in North Carolina. And supposedly aliens are working, with our military and sharing technology.
Uh-huh.
Now, some of this information she got from somebody high up or was high up in the government. She checked their credentials out and all that stuff. So when she was telling me some of the stuff on the air and some of the stuff off the air, it kind of was upsetting.
Uh-huh. Well, there's a lot of stories you can get out there. Dulce, New Mexico is a place where supposedly there was an underground base where way back in the 70s or 60s or 70s there was a battle between aliens and human beings, underground battle. And the aliens won, I guess. I don't remember what the ultimate outcome was. It wasn't, but it probably wasn't too good for us. People have searched for an entrance into an alien base in the vicinity of Dulce, New Mexico, and nobody's found anything so far as I know.
Yeah, well,
well,
I hate to say it. I mean, if they have the technology to get going through wormholes or portals or black holes or wherever how they get to our planet, it tells us that their technology is so far advanced over ours. So, I mean, that's the scary part.
Well, this Navy jet video, which I analyzed, I took the implications of the radar technician who said that these things went from a height of 28,000 feet down to the surface of the ocean in about 0.8 of a second. And I said, okay, let's suppose we were going to try to do that by Newtonian mechanics, a super high power jet engine to accelerate the object halfway down, 14,000 feet, and then you have some sort of a braking effect. It's like slamming on the brakes. It's slowing down, so that when you get to 0 feet altitude, you're going at 0 speed. So that's taking you from 28,000 feet at 0 speed to 14,000 feet at a very high speed, and then to 0 height at a very at 0 speed. And to do that, you'd have to have the capability of having an acceleration of several thousand Gs, and it would be enough to turn any human being into a puddle of mush.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Whoever was in that craft, if that was possible, would be kind of like leftover.
Kenneth Arnold, in the first sighting of these disc-like objects flipping and flashing and going in a very erratic manner past Mount Rainier, as in that book, 3 Minutes in June. Kenneth Arnold noticed that these things would sort of stop and start and stop and start and flop, travel in a very erratic manner, and he thought, he sort of half with tongue in cheek at the time, believed that maybe these things weren't human beings inside, because he says no human being could withstand the shaking of these objects as they tilted at high speeds and so on. Already in the first sighting, you get some of the core information that they're capable of high speed. He measured the speed of the objects from going past Mount Rainier down south to Mount Adams, 102 seconds, that's 50 miles, approximately 1,700 miles an hour. This was in June 24th, 1947. Our fastest jets would go maybe 650 to 700 miles an hour. So they're already going a lot faster in such a jerky manner that he figured anybody on board, a human being, would turn into jello.
Yeah, they would have to scrape the cockpit. I will say I will say I will say this: in the early 90s, I took a break for a few years out of broadcasting, and I because my other love in life was photography, and I was offered a job because I was burned out in radio. You get burned out in doing radio, and I took a job managing 3 professional camera stores. And we would import from Czechoslovakia, Russian, the first generation infrared binoculars. And, I took one pair home, and they were really expensive. I think even the used military from ones were like $3,000. I took a pair home over the weekend, and, I got really tired at night looking at whatever little animals were running around in my backyard. And I all of a sudden, decide, hey, I'm going to look in the sky. And, I saw things go zipping really fast, come to a stop, and then go a complete different direction. Now, one of our clients ran a, what do you call it, where they have the big telescope out in Puyallup, Washington, observatory. And I talked to the director. He came in, and I said, this is what I'm seeing. And he goes, well, we don't see it with our telescopes. And I said, okay, well, hey, take these home for a couple of days and bring them back and tell me if you've seen anything. And he came back a few days later, and he goes, I want a pair. And I go, okay, what did you see? And he goes, I saw the things that you were talking about. I saw things traveling at a high speed that, were faster than satellites, come to a stop and go veer off to another complete direction, which a satellite can't do. And then they would zigzag and all this stuff. All of a sudden, the 12 members of this group all bought them, and they were coming in for a long period afterwards, telling me all this weird stuff they were seeing. Mm-hmm.
They're not the only people. Other people. Infrared stuff has gone down in price a lot, as you may well imagine.
Oh, yeah.
And it's gotten a lot better, too. And sure enough, people who turn infrared viewing up into the sky are likely to see things going by. I have to be careful whether if you have the type of night vision device that emits a beam, like a lot of the home videos, the home video cameras that are night viewing type, they send out an infrared beam about 0.8 of a micron. It's very deep red. It's hard to see with your eye. Maybe most people can't see that far into the red anyway. But it sends a beam out, and anything that goes through the beam, of course, reflects the light back into the camera. So nearby bugs might cause images. On the other hand, if you have an infrared